All right, seniors, we have a special and very important presentation to go over with you all. We have our distracted driver simulation that we're going to start doing. We have the police department, fire department, EMS, and Capitol Health here, all because they care about your well-being. We want to make sure we send you all with an important message before you head to prom and truthfully after you go to prom. So please give your attention to our own Officer Austin.
Good morning, everyone. LHS administration, staff, and especially to the class of 2024. How you doing? How you feeling? Very good. So like Ms. Eke said, this presentation is for you, all right? A lot of time, energy, and effort went into this because we care about you. We care about what you do tonight, this weekend, and for the rest of your life, honestly, all right? And so what you're gonna see today hopefully will touch your heart and your soul, all right? So tonight is prom. Everybody excited? All right, prom season is by far one of the most dangerous seasons of the year. Starts from April until about June, okay? And it's dangerous because you all as seniors, as new drivers that have minimal experience on the road, statistics show that a small percentage of your age group has made very bad decisions, all right? And this presentation will show you the results of making bad decisions, all right? Of becoming a victim to peer pressure on a night like tonight and this weekend when everybody goes down the shore or to the Poconos or wherever you decide to go, okay? Every day about 32 people in the United States lose their life to an alcohol-related incident, all right? That's about every 45 minutes, all right? So when you're in class, that's every class period we're in Lawrence High School, approximately 2 people lose their life due to an alcohol-related incident, all right? And that's approximately 11,000 per year is what it estimates for the past few years. 11,000 people a year lose their life due to an alcohol-related incident. Here in Lawrence Township, we average about 1,500 crashes per year, some of which are fatal crashes, all right? And what you're about to see is exactly what the brave men and women from the police department, fire department, and EMS do every day in Lawrence Township to save lives. Before I call them out, who can tell me the time that you are allowed to drive on a provisional license? All right, and how many occupants can you have in your car that is a non-family member? Perfect. And what is the speed limit on Princeton Pike? 25 miles per hour on Princeton Pike. At this time, I'm going to contact my dispatchers and let the show begin. 243 dispatch.
243.
Exercise, exercise, exercise. There's a report of a 2-car collision in front of 2525 Princeton Pike, Lawrence High School. Please dispatch officers at this time. So in a few moments, you will hear sirens. Typically, on a crash, police are the first to arrive, just by virtue of there being more police officers on the road than fire and EMS.
42's all right.
When the call comes in, our dispatchers are vital to this process. The information that they give us allows us to go through a mental checklist of what we're responding to and the equipment that we need to bring. At this time, emergency response vehicles are going to come up the bus chute, and they are going to assess the situation. Okay, so we have a two-vehicle crash. In each vehicle, there are 3 victims. As you can see, one of the victims is on the hood. When they arrive on scene, again, they will assess the situation. Take a moment to watch as they arrive. As Detective Tara makes her initial approach, she will try to talk to the victims that can talk. Other officers are bringing our medical bag that has an oxygen mask, a bag valve mask, and other very basic life-saving tools, but that will not be enough for an accident crash of this magnitude. 243 to 2005. Can you dispatch fire and EMS platforms? Exercise, exercise, exercise. So again, as you can see, police typically are the first on scene.
Can you respond to 660 Rosedale Road for the motor vehicle crash? It's going to be a gray Honda Odyssey versus the ECS pickup truck, Millie Bruce now blocking.
They're assessing the situation, and police officers are doing as much as we can with the medical training that we have. As fire and EMS arrive on scene, a majority of firemen are basic lifesaver support qualified. EMS, also basic lifesaver qualified, as well as advanced life support, also known as paramedics. Basic life support means that you can perform CPR for cardiac arrest or obstructed airways. Advanced life support or paramedics is essentially a rolling hospital. At this time, Detective Tara is performing CPR on the victim that was on the hood. We perform CPR until we are relieved by someone who is ALS certified, again, who is Advanced Life Support certified, or what we commonly call a paramedic. So we will continue to perform CPR on this victim until a paramedic arrives on scene and can take over. Officer Hammond behind the vehicle is talking to the victims that can talk, trying to gain information on what happened before we arrived on scene. So the first engine and the first EMS is on scene. Another EMS emergency ambulance. We have a ladder platform coming up the bus chute, as well as 2 more engines. What you cannot see behind the vehicles is another police officer performing CPR on one of the victims of the vehicle. I want to direct your attention to Officer Hammond. Right now, he's talked to the driver of the vehicle, and based on his assessment, he's now going to execute what we call standard field sobriety test. So, as Officer Hammond initially talked to him, his physical characteristics suggested that he might be under the influence of alcohol. So right now, Officer Hammond is conducting what we call HGN. That's the horizontal gaze nystagmus. This has a 70% rate of success because your eyes don't lie. When you're under the influence of alcohol, your eyes track a certain way. And that is what he's doing right now, trying to see if the driver's eyes track smooth or if they shudder. As fire arrives on scene, they also make their assessment of the crash site. They brought their advanced life support equipment out, as well as stretchers. Police will tell them everything that they've seen up until the point where they've arrived. At that point, the police will be in a support mode for fire and EMS. Right now, fire has out their saws. They will eventually bring out the jaws of life used for any entrapment. In a crash like this, we have all hands on deck. Every police officer in Lawrence Township will respond to this call. We will most likely call for mutual aid from one of our surrounding jurisdictions to help with traffic. Depending on where this crash happens, if it's on Route 1 in front of Quaker Bridge Mall, in a matter of minutes, traffic will be backed up for 2 or 3 miles and continue to back up until we can remove the vehicles from the scene and make a path for all the other vehicles to go down Route 1. If it's on a local road like Princeton Pike, it won't have that much effect to the flow of traffic, but again, the bigger the road, the bigger the backup.
2936 Pike, motor vehicle crash.
Right now, fire is using what we call a Halligan to try to gain entry into the back door of the vehicle. If the Halligan doesn't work, they'll use their saw. If the saw doesn't work, they will use the jaws of life to help extract the victim that has been trapped in the vehicle. If you look at the paramedic in front of the 2 vehicles, they have a machine operating on that victim that is helping them breathe. A crash of this magnitude also might result in the call for air medevac, which would be a helicopter that arrives on scene. And that helicopter would transport the victim to a trauma center within 60 minutes. That's called the golden hour. A victim with life-threatening injuries, we always like to get them to a trauma center within 60 minutes to help optimize their chance of living. Right now they're taking one of the victims and they're going to load him into the ambulance. We are blessed here in Lawrence Township to have a trauma center approximately 5 miles south of us, so we typically would not ever call for an air medevac. At this time, take it all in. Take it all in. What you cannot see behind the fire platform is Officer Hammond. After he performed the 3 standard field sobriety tests, which is the HGN, the walk and turn, and the one-legged stand, determined that the operator was under the influence of alcohol. He arrested that operator and they will be on their way to the police department to get processed. They will do a breathalyzer, at which point that breathalyzer will let us know what their blood alcohol content level was. If it's over 0.08, you will see when we go inside what happens. The standard field sobriety tests are a test of mental aptitude, fine motor skills, balance, and your ability to comprehend instructions. So we are not only looking for physical signs, but when we give instructions to somebody that we suspect is under the influence, we are also judging their ability to follow instructions as well as their physical and mental capacity. On scene, Detective Sawaski has arrived with a camera. The vehicle of the driver has been pronounced dead. Detective Sawaski is here to take pictures of what we call a fatal crash scene. The pictures that Detective Sawaski takes right now will get forwarded to a fatal accident reconstructionist. That is somebody who is specially trained in looking at a crash and trying to figure out what happened before that crash. So the photos that Detective Sawaski takes right now will be critical to that accident crash reconstructionist's ability to figure out what happened. The firemen are continuing to use their tools to try to get the far side of the doors that you cannot see open to extract any other victims that might be entrapped in the vehicle. As you can see, this is a very complex scene. As mentioned, all hands will be on deck, so the patrol sergeant will continue to relay information to the lieutenant. The lieutenant will definitely be on scene, and our lieutenant will contact our captain, who in turn contacts our chief. The paramedic is continuing to perform CPR as they get loaded into the ambulance. CPR increases the risk of survival tremendously. Once the lieutenant arrives on scene, the lieutenant will obtain a brief from the sergeant. The sergeant will let the lieutenant know everything that has happened up to that point. The lieutenant will ask if we've contacted a loved one. One of the hardest things we have to do as policemen, firemen, and EMS is walk up to somebody's house and let their loved ones know that their child has been involved in a fatal crash and they are no longer here. That is the result of making a bad decision on a night like tonight. It is the worst thing we have to do as first responders. So as you can see, the firemen have cut the roof of the vehicle off in order to safely get to the victim that has been entrapped in the vehicle. So they started with their Halligan, their saws, their jaws of life, ultimately having to cut off the roof of the vehicle to gain access to remove and extract that victim from the entrapped vehicle. A fatal crash scene will shut down a road for multiple hours, if not days. Again, when we come out and we take photos of the crash scene, we forward those photos to a crash reconstructionist, and until they can determine exactly what happened, they will keep the road closed to preserve evidence and other things that will help us determine how this crash occurred. Another variable that we have to be concerned about on a crash like this is fluid leaking from one of the vehicles, and an accelerant might be in the air that caused this vehicle to also catch on fire. So in addition to having 6 victims, a fatality, fire also has to be concerned with one of these vehicles catching on fire, which would 1000% add to the complexity of this crash scene. For our firemen, they have on approximately 50 pounds of gear. So on a day like today, it's not too bad. Overcast with a breeze, but if this was the middle of July and it was 95 degrees or above, they still wear the same 50 pounds of equipment in order to do their job and try to save lives. So as the fire retrieve their equipment, this crash scene occurred here in simulation for about 25 minutes. But understand, again, with the 2-vehicle crash, 6 victims, a fatality, the road will be shut down for numerous hours, if not days. A police officer will have to go to the house of the deceased and tell a parent or guardian that their child is no longer with us. All because of a bad decision, all because of falling victim to peer pressure. This is the result of that. So as we wrap up the outdoor portion, think about tonight. I want everybody to have fun at their senior prom. But look in front of you and understand this is the result of bad decisions. I'm going to hand the microphone over to your Lawrence High School principal, Ms. Eke, to give you further instructions.
All right, everyone, can we please give a round of applause to our Lawrence Township Police, Fire Department, First Responders, and Ambulance. Not many schools in the county do this presentation. We also have the Chief of Police here as well as other members of our central office administration. We do this because we care about you. We want you to be safe, not only on the day of prom, but all days afterwards. So please keep in mind, we do this for your safety, to spread awareness, and we have people here because we want to make sure you're okay. So, without further ado, we are done with the outside portion. We are going to have the paramedic talk. So give us one more second, and we're heading in after we hear from our Lawrence Township EMS.
Hi everybody, how you doing? These gloves are clean, by the way, just put them on. A lot of things have already been said, but just wanted to bring it home for you guys really quick. In a staged event like this, everybody kind of comes together all at once. All right, the reality is, if you get into an accident, driving drunk, driving distracted, there is one ambulance in Lawrence Township almost all the time. Only one. 1 or 2 ambulances in Ewing, a couple in Hamilton, 1 or 2 in Trenton. We're all very busy. How many patients were there? You guys watching? How many patients? 6, right? Plus the driver, all right? That's 6 transports. That's at least 4 or 5, 6 ambulances. 1 or 2 of our patients didn't make it. So just please be aware. Help will come if you get into an accident. But all the help that's needed will be delayed. You're going to be there for 15, 20 minutes waiting for the next ambulance to get there. Please be careful. Please don't text and drive. Don't drink and drive. You just need a driver. Whatever you got to do to avoid something like this, because we can do a lot of things in the field. We can't fix you when you're dead like this. Less than 1% chance somebody who's in cardiac arrest due to trauma in an MVA, less than 1% chance in the field of bringing them back. We can do CPR, intubate, defibrillate, push medicines, it doesn't matter. There's too many holes. We can't fix that, all right? Thanks to everybody for helping out. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate you guys. Please be careful, all right?
Thank you. All right. We also have our Lawrence Township Chief of Police, Chief Longo.
Hello everybody. First of all, congratulations on making it through your senior year. It's a great accomplishment. I know everybody's looking forward to the next chapter, so congratulations on that. Also tonight, enjoy the prom. Everybody's going, I assume. Just put a little bit of reality into the personal aspect of this, other than just the crash. Nothing is worse than having for a police officer to have to go knock on your parents' door and let them know that there was a tragedy, whether you're hurt, injured, or whether you've been killed. Most times it's avoidable. Just use good judgment. This is part of being an adult, of growing up, of getting out of high school, going on to college or work or whatever you're going to do. Just please use good judgment tonight. If somebody is doing something wrong or drinking or using some kind of substance, please take care of them, let an adult know, and don't let them get in a car. Nothing is worse than having to go. I've gone to a parent's house and let them know that their child was killed in a car crash or severely injured. Nothing is more heartbreaking than to see parents' reaction to that. So there's a little bit more to this. Think outside the box. Think of your parents and your family. Use good judgment. Have a great time tonight, and congratulations.
And just a little side note, Chief Longo is not only speaking as a chief of police, he's also speaking as a father of a student at Lawrence High School. So, we are going to head inside to the auditorium through the main doors. All right, everyone, so to keep it moving forward, we're going to start with our presentation from our Capitol Health friends. So please give them a round of applause.
Good morning. Congratulations, class of 2024, from a proud member of the class of 1987. So, sorry about that. So yes, 37 years ago, yes, I sat sort of similar to you, but not here. So congratulations, you have a lot to look forward to. My name's Dennis Quinlan, and I'm one of the trauma surgeons right down the road here at Capitol Health. It's good to be back here. I've done this about 7 or 8 times over the last 15 years that I've been here, so it's always nice to come back. So it's going to come here, talk to you about what we do at the Trauma Center. After you saw what's out there, they drive you right down the street. Like they said, never a helicopter needed in Lawrence. You're only 5 miles away from us. So motor vehicle crash is the second leading cause of death to teens in the United States. about 2,500 American teens are died, and about 285,000 are injured, and 7 deaths a day. So it's pretty much too many. You guys are at the highest risk because you're the newest. Sometimes you don't like to wear your seatbelts, which is kind of odd because mine was a generation that grew up not wearing a seatbelt. You've seen seatbelts your whole life, so it's kind of odd that you don't wear them as much. And new drivers are 1.5 times more likely to crash than even 18 and 19-year-olds. So the risk factors, obviously, at night, you don't see as well. Seatbelt use and speeding are all things that come into play. These are all the things that can interfere with your ability to operate a car. And 2,841 were killed in distracted driving incidents. So very important to put your cell phone away. I like your cell phone away and protected, because if you are in an accident, I'd like to know who to contact. So I would like an intact cell phone by the time you get to the trauma center. All right, 25% of distracted drivers involved in a fatal motor vehicle collision. 39% of teens have admitted to texting while driving. That's like one of those statistics that you go, well, 39% to me seems a little low. So probably a good majority of people are lying or they don't have hands to text. So what happens after you get into your motor vehicle collision? Well, you just saw what they did in the field. Now you come to us. So you arrive here. That's our driveway. That's actually the front. You usually come to the back. You can land on the roof, but you guys are too close. So this is where you come. This is the trauma bay, right? You'll come here. You come in. You're flat on your back, and you're met by about 8 people at the least. You're met by an anesthesiologist, a CRNA, a physician assistant, myself, 2 nurses, a critical care tech. So it's not a very cozy setting, all right? And there's a lot of stuff going on. We have to make sure you assess your airway, so we're constantly talking to you, constantly making sure you're breathing. They're throwing monitors and leads on you so we can get your blood pressure. And then after we get the ABCs, then we go to D, disability. We look at your body, see what's out of whack, what's broken. And then E is exposure. So this is what happens. You get pulled over. That's Dr. D'Amelio. He's long since retired, and he was a lot grayer when I met him. This is where all your clothes wind up, right? So if you had a tuxedo rental, you're going to lose your deposit. Because we're not going to be gentle, all right? This is what an assessment looks like. You got anesthesia at the head, the surgeon, the PA, and the nurse. This is what happens. This is actually a good, like when I see this, I'm happy because 2 things, right? That patient's on the bed alive, and 2, they wore their seatbelt. Right? Now, the wound may look horrible, but that probably saved their life. Because this is what you don't want, right? This is what your face looks like when it goes through the windshield or hits the steering wheel, okay? You get these sort of black and blue eyes bilaterally, look like a raccoon. That's actually what we call that. That's a sign that you've probably broke the base of your skull. The tube in your nose, these days, we don't do that as much, but if you're on the breathing machine, you will get a tube, usually down your mouth though, not down your nose. Here we go. This guy has a chest tube in his side, so if you hit the steering wheel, you break your ribs, you puncture your lung. We got to re-expand it, so we put a chest tube in. That's off to the side. He's intubated. He's on the ventilator in the back corner there. What's wrong with that, right? When you're lying on your back, which way should both of your feet point? All right? They should point up, right? So this is usually what happens as you either go to act like you're going to stop the car or try to prevent yourself. So what do we do? So after we've assessed you, we have to figure out what's wrong with you, right? So there's several places we're going to go. If you're lucky and your blood pressure is stable, you go here. You go to CAT scan, right? This is just a giant x-ray machine. It basically takes hundreds and hundreds of x-rays in a second as we roll you through. So we can assess your brain, your neck to make sure it's not broken, your lungs, your rib cage, your solid organs, your liver, spleen, kidneys, and your pelvis. So it goes from the top of your head through your pelvis. And it'll take about 3 minutes to do. If you need to, you go to the OR. That's Annie. All right, when you guys get out in your professional careers, everyone deserves an Annie. All right, Annie was about 38 years into her nursing career, 35 years into her nursing career when I met her. And I was a young surgeon at the hospital. And when you're a young surgeon at the hospital, sometimes you don't have a lot of friends. The nurses don't really know you. They don't know how to deal with you. But Annie was like, she could get along with anybody. She was like your grandmother. She was a grandmother. So maybe that's why she made it so easy. So Annie was the type that if you had a long case and you got out of the OR at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, there was graham crackers and orange juice and a PACU, and you'd sit down and you'd be able to refresh while you were doing your note. Annie retired after 40 years at Capitol Health. 4 months after she retired, her daughter, her, and her granddaughter were driving in Bucks County, Pennsylvania in the middle of the afternoon when they were struck by an impaired driver. Annie died. Her daughter went to St. Mary's, and her granddaughter had to be flown to CHOP. 4 months after a 40-year career. That is not fair. And no one deserves that end. So no one should ever, in my opinion these days, even think about drinking and driving anymore. It should be a zero-sum effect, right? Uber, Lyft. I even learned the other day that you can call the freaking tow company. It may be a little more expensive than Uber and Lyft, but they will tow your car and drive you home. I didn't even know that. But I was at Ewing doing this the other day, and that's what the tow truck driver said. So you might want to try that too, if you have some cash on you, because I'm sure he wants cash. All right? But there are ways you can avoid this, right? You can avoid this day. When I was 1987, I didn't even have a cell phone. I didn't have a pager. I had nothing. You had two dimes in your loafers, and that was to use the payphone. And then when it went to 25 cents, you were out of luck because you couldn't fit quarters in your loafers. All right? Penny loafers, right? You ever see them? You used to put pennies in them. No? I guess not. All right. Well, that's how long ago. So with you guys these days, you can communicate, right? You can communicate with others so you can get help quicker, and you can communicate, and you can allow us to find out who you need us to call in an emergency, all right? And you can get that ride to avoid the situation altogether, all right? So where can you go? You know, you go to the intensive care unit. In the intensive care unit, usually you're intubated or you're very sick. You were monitoring for your bleeding. If you have like a liver lac or your spleen's ruptured, we'll monitor your blood counts. If you have a brain injury and your decreased level of consciousness, you'll be intubated until you wake up, if you wake up. And this is the problem we have. This is where I don't like the job so much. Then I have to then talk to your family on a daily basis. Give them updates. Sometimes the updates are no good. Once you get into the ICU, if you're lucky to survive to the ICU and we're in the ICU, it's a roller coaster, right? Because one day you may get a little bit better, the next day you may take 2 steps back. You just never know on a daily basis. These are the sickest of the sick. And then the other thing is sometimes if you have a severe enough brain injury and there's a severe enough swelling in your brain, it actually swells to the point where it pushes downward on your brainstem. Your brainstem is a part of your body that works automatically. You don't have to think about it. When it crushes on that, then that stuff stops. And then you are dead at that point. Even though you may have tracings on the monitor, you actually can't survive that way. You can go to our regular surgical floor, a lot easier to deal with. You're talking to us, I'm talking to you, we're talking to your family. This is a lot easier for us to deal with. And then actually this was a slide they put in this years ago, because this slide's been in here probably since the first time I did this 14 years ago. Do you know the significance of this today? Do you know what today is? Today's D-Day, right? And this is actually Normandy, right? So if you're a history buff, that worked today. So every person, every time, please wear your seatbelts. I'm one of the few doctors that I want less patients, okay? My whole job as a trauma surgeon, if I have less patients, that means you're taking care of yourselves better. So we actually have a motto that says, we don't need your business, okay? I don't need your business, all right? I'm not someone, general surgeon, taking out your gallbladder or your appendix who needs to do a lot of things. I'm a trauma surgeon. I only meet new people in my life when they're having their worst day, okay? So that's all I meet when I meet new people, right? I meet a new person, they're lying there flat on their back after they've been in a wreck, all right? So I don't like to meet people that way. So don't become a statistic, become a success story. I've actually never read that one before, but please become successful. You have your whole life ahead of you, all right? And it's pretty cool out there. I know it's kind of crazy at times, but the rest of the stuff is pretty cool, all right? So congratulations again, and enjoy tonight, all right? Oh yeah, all right. So anyway, so in order to make this possible, I actually brought my whole team here today. You know, every now and then we get to get out and have family outings. First on the far right is Ashley Taylor. She's our trauma program manager. She makes everything run right. Tony Hanawacker is one of our registrars. They keep track of everybody. Anissa, she's our educator. She makes sure everyone knows what they're doing in the hospital. Alex McLean is our, she's our PI coordinator. She tells us when we screw up and how we need to do better. And then Stephanie here is our injury prevention person. She's the one who arranges us. And then Tony was here somewhere. He's also one of our registrars, but I think he kicked early.
All right, so a big round of applause to our medical professionals. So that completes the law enforcement, fire, EMS, medical, life-saving portion of this process. As you heard me say outside, the driver was talked to, was given the standard field sobriety test, failed all 3, and now this is the simulated trial portion of the program. So we have an attorney here who is going to be dual-rolled as an attorney and a judge. What you're going to see is the attorney/judge read every charge that this driver has been charged with, and you will see the outcome if that driver is convicted or not. Understand that if you are the operator of a vehicle of a fatal crash and that anybody in your vehicle that you're with or the other vehicle becomes a fatality at the age of 17, I can tell you that you will most likely be riding a bike for the rest of your life.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. You are here and you were charged with several offenses relating to a motor vehicle accident. First, you were charged with driving while intoxicated. As part of the arraignment process, I have to tell you what your potential penalties are in connection with driving while intoxicated. Driving while intoxicated, if it's your first offense, it's a fine of $250 to $400. Up to 30 days in jail. You lose your driver's license for a minimum of 3 months. In addition to that, you are required to attend 12 to 48 hours at the Intoxicated Drivers Resource Center and then comply with all their recommendations. You will also receive an automatic automobile insurance surcharge of $1,000 per year for 3 years. Now, if your blood alcohol level was greater than 0.10%, but less than 0.15%, the term of imprisonment can be up to 30 days, and the fine is between $300 to $500. As well, you will be required to have an ignition interlock device installed in your vehicle for 7 months to a year. There is also a minimum of 6 hours a day for 2 consecutive days at the Intoxicated Drivers Resource Center, as well as the insurance surcharges that were previously advised of. In addition, if your blood alcohol level was greater than 0.15, the ignition interlock device will be on your car for 4 to 6 months, and then for a period of 9 months to 18 months after your license is reinstated fully. So you will be required to maintain that in your vehicle. Now, there are collateral consequences if you are caught driving while suspended as a result of having a driving while intoxicated conviction. So if your license is suspended as a result of driving while intoxicated and you're caught driving with a suspended license, you will have a mandatory fine of $500, 10 days to 90 days in jail, with 10 days being mandatory, 1 to 2 years license suspension in addition to what your suspension period is already. And if you're, in this case, if you were involved in a crash such as what occurred here, while your license is suspended, you will face a mandatory jail sentence of at least 45 to 180 days, whether or not somebody's injured or not. You are all, in addition, given that there are personal injuries related to the accident here, you are also subject to the following. Bear with me. Okay. It's a third-degree felony in the state of New Jersey for anyone who's responsible for a DWI accident that causes serious bodily injury. That is a criminal charge, not a quasi-criminal charge such as the DWI. It would be charged with a third-degree assault by auto, which will subject to a potential jail sentence of 3 to 5 years in the New Jersey State Prison and a fine of up to $15,000. If somebody died as a result, that's a second-degree felony. As a result of that, you can spend up to 10 years in jail, up to 10 years in state prison, and fine up to $200,000. You'll also be required to serve 85% of the jail term that is imposed upon you by the court. Now, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty by a court of law, but you are subject to these penalties. Do you understand those penalties? And at this time, because you were charged with felony charges as a result of the injuries and death associated with this case, you'll be sent to the Superior Court where they will do a formal arraignment on those charges. Do you understand that? Nothing. Sorry, I can't see too well here with all these lights in front of me. Good morning. In addition to what I just kind of explained, there are some additional penalties and things of that nature that people don't think about that are not imposed by the court system related to TWI that you should be aware of. Number one, a lot of you at this age are not thinking about having to procure a life insurance policy. However, if you have a DWI conviction, it can either exclude you or cause you to have higher premium payments on life insurance. Now, you may not be thinking about that right now, but trust me, when you get older and you need to have it and you have a family and you have children and people that you may need to support, life insurance will be important for you. In addition, I had mentioned motor vehicle surcharges. You will have those motor vehicle surcharges as well for at least 3 years, and if you don't pay them, you can never get restored. Additional things that seem weird, or not weird, but collateral consequences for a DWI include the ability to get vanity plates in the state of New Jersey. You cannot get vanity plates, so you are not able to have a personalized license plate. Also, if you are driving while intoxicated and you get in an accident and it's not your fault and you suffer personal injuries, you can't sue the other driver. You're prohibited from doing so. You will also have higher insurance costs. The DWI in New Jersey will stick with you forever. It's a motor vehicle portion, at least the portion of the non-criminal aspect or the quasi-criminal aspect of the driving charge of DWI, that will be on your driver's license abstract forever. You can't expunge that. Of course, if you get in an accident while intoxicated, you can also have civil consequences where you will be most likely sued for the other person's injuries. While this may not apply to most of you, if you have immigration, it can prevent you from being able to immigrate into this country. That being said, the most important thing, as our trauma surgeon had stated, there are many alternatives for you to be able to get home. If you're intoxicated, you don't need to drive. There's Uber, there's Lyft. I just learned you can have a tow company take your car home for you. I guess if you need the car the next morning. But we want you to all be safe. Our office is in Lawrence. Actually, Brian Duff, who normally does this today, I'm covering for him today. He got called into a trial. He's a local Lawrence resident. He's done this program multiple years in the past, and he told me to let everybody know that if you do have any questions with respect to anything along these lines, you can certainly call him or our office. Our office is in Hamilton, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have free of charge. But the most important thing for everybody here is to stay safe. If you're intoxicated, don't take the chance. It's just not worth it. It's so much easier to be able to get a Lyft or an Uber or a taxi or a ride home, and you can have some serious consequences that will stay with you for the rest of your life from one mistake on one evening when you weren't necessarily thinking about it. Thank you.
All right, seniors, so at this time, we've gone over the actual crash scene, the first responder response to the crash scene, the simulated trial, and as I mentioned outside, one of the occupants of the vehicle, after going to the ICU, pronounced dead, okay? As I stated outside also, one of the hardest things that we have to do is tell a parent or guardian that their child is no longer with us, okay? Just look at this, all right? And you've heard me say it numerous times this morning, but this is the result of bad decisions and falling victim to peer pressure, okay? For me, and I apologize if I get a little emotional, but the last 3 years, for me personally, but the community as a whole, unfortunately has been marked by tragedy, okay? And so I want everybody here to enjoy their night. I want everybody to have fun. This is one of the most memorable nights of your young life. But I want everybody to look at this, remember everything you've seen up until this point, and it's simple. Just make smart decisions, okay? I personally cannot cope with any more tragedy, and I probably speak for every adult in the building, the administration, the superintendents, and the thousands of families that live in Lawrence, okay? So please, 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 just make smart decisions tonight. Have fun, all right? I was 18 once, but please make smart decisions. Are there any questions of me before I turn it over to Dr. Adam or Ms. Eke? All right, seniors. Have a great night tonight. I will actually see you at the dance, all right?
All right. We do have one of our students coming up. They are going to recite a poem very quickly.
I went to a party and I remembered what you said. You told me not to drink, so I had Sprite instead. I felt proud of myself the way you said I would, that I didn't drink and drive, though some of my friends said I should. I made a healthy choice, and your advice to me was right. The party finally ended and the kids drove out of sight. I got into my car, sure to get home in one piece. I never knew what was coming, something I expected least. And now I'm lying on the pavement and I can hear the policeman say, the kid that caused this wreck was drunk, Mom. His voice seemed so far away. My own blood is all around me as I try hard not to cry, but I can hear the paramedics say that this girl is going to die. I'm sure the guy had no idea while he was flying high, but because he chose to drink and drive, now I would have to die. So why do people do it, knowing that it ruins lives? Now the pain is cutting me like 1,000 stabbing knives. Tell sister not to be afraid and tell dad to be brave. When I go to heaven, put mommy's girl on my grave. Someone should have taught him that it's wrong to drink and drive. Maybe if his parents had, I'd still be alive. My breath is getting shorter and I'm getting really scared. These are my final moments and I'm so unprepared. I wish that you could hold me as I lay here and die. I wish that I could tell you that I love you. So I love you and goodbye.
All right. I also want to thank our theater company, our students for your acting. Thank you all so much. All right, we are near the end. We have a couple more people speaking. Don't do that. So, I'm going to have Mr. Krajunas, our student assistance counselor, come up and share a few words.
Good morning, everybody. I know that these demonstrations can be a little bit chaotic and intense, but thank you to everybody who helped put them together, and thank you all for kind of hanging in there with them. When we are engaging in some of these decisions, we're just increasing the chance that these things can happen, and not just happen to us, but everybody who's a part of the demonstration today. They all have families, and they all have communities, and when we take part in some of these behaviors, we're choosing to kind of increase the chance that something like this can devastate a family, can devastate a home, a life, a community. And so please, 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 we are really, really imploring you to kind of think before you act today, or this weekend, or in the rest of your life. I have a lot of love for the people in this room. And I speak from, I think, a really unique position. There's people in here that I have coached. There's people in here that I have taught. There's people in here I have counseled. There's people in here I have worked with. And I just really, really, really have a lot of strong feelings and strong positive feelings towards the people who are here. And for those of you who I don't know, I know that you have had really meaningful interactions with those of you who I do know. And I really value you for that. And so thank you. That's not me. When we are engaging in some of these things, if I'm taking a drink or if I'm, using a drug, I'm losing some of the stuff that made me me. And by some extension, you're losing some of the stuff that makes you you. And again, I have a serious amount of love for the people who are in this room and for the group that I'm talking to. So I really, really, really want to encourage you to kind of stay true to yourself, to think before you act, and to take care of one another. You are never going to be in trouble for picking up the phone and reaching out for help, whatever the situation is. In New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, you are protected in those cases. So please, please feel free to, maybe that is me. I don't know. Please, please feel free to reach out for help if something is going on and you ever need some kind of assistance or anything like that. The last thing that I really want to talk to you about is our brains. The very, very last thing that's going to develop for us is our frontal lobe. That's all of our decision making. That's all of our impulse control. That's all of that. And that doesn't happen until you're 25. I don't think that there's somebody in here who right now would ever choose for a situation like the one that we've all seen this morning to ever take place. We would not wish that on anybody. The problem is when we're engaging in some of those behaviors paired with the fact that our brains are just also not regulating stuff really great right now, it's just kind of like a time bomb that's waiting to go off. So right now we can look at this and we can say like, I would never choose to do this. But I'm not thinking when I'm at a party, I'm not thinking when somebody has a drink in front of me, and I'm more inclined to make a tough decision. So please, please, again, I said it before and I will say it again, think before you act. Be true to yourself today and take care of those who are around you, okay? Not just for today, but for the rest of your lives, right? Yeah. You all are like fantastic. You deserve to have a great time, and I look forward to celebrating with you today in a safe way. Good job.
All right, seniors, we are going to have a very important message from the captain of our ship, Dr. Adam.
All right, good morning, seniors. How we doing? This morning, you had some pancakes. I never seen so many faces with smiles on them since seeing the pancakes this morning. It was great. One more round of applause for our parents and project graduation. Thank you for putting it on for us. Very briefly, quick message. You got the point of today. We care about you. We want you to be happy. There's a ton of people that puts today together for you. You cannot organize that number of firemen, EMS, police, support system, Capitol Health, judges, the students, without all this being organized. We start all year round to get this together for you today. And that led this year by Miss Eke. Let's give Miss Eke a big round of applause for putting that together for us. There's so many people who care about you. Please listen. That's what we're going to hear. Just listen, that they care about you. You want to be safe today, safe the next couple weeks till the end of school, graduation, and the rest of your life, and have a great, long, healthy, happy life. My quick message to you today is, please don't ruin that today. If you make mistakes, make poor choices today, it's going to have really long-lasting implications on you and your life and your family. We do not want that to happen. That's what the messages are today. Very briefly, and this is a mean one, but I'll say it here. I'll have this with me today. For those who may not be able to see this, it's called a BAC tracker. If you are at the prom today and you feel like you might be under the influence, any of the adults see you acting in a strange way, Officer Austin will be with me. Officer Tara will be with me. We might do a little field sobriety check on you today. And if it comes back positive, you'll be leaving with Officer Austin in handcuffs from the prom. And just remember, we are in Pennsylvania. We are not in New Jersey. We've already called to the chief of police over in Bristol. We have the authority to do this. You'll be brought to a Bristol jail, not the Lawrence jail, and you'll be processed in Pennsylvania. We don't play. Please, as you heard Mr. Jr. say a minute ago,
Settle down.
Please do not put us or you in that position. We want you to have a great night tonight. Make good choices. Don't do anything that's going to put us or you in a position where you got to make these decisions. We say this because we care about you. We want you to be happy. We want you to be healthy for a long time, like I said. That's my message. Have a great time tonight. Enjoy your time. Have a lot of fun. I can't wait to see you tonight.